Good morning and welcome to today's Cabinet meeting. This is not a public meeting, but a meeting that the public can attend. I'm Ros Jones, Mayor of Doncaster, and I'd like to welcome you all here today. Before we commence proceedings, I'd like to outline domestic arrangements for the meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice today. If the alarm sounds, please leave the building and assemble the other side of the fountains at Cath. This meeting will be recorded and published on the Council's website. By entering the Council chamber, you are accepting that you will be recorded and your images will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If anyone intends to record today's meeting, please ensure that this does not disturb the conduct of the meeting, and please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode. Thank you. I will now commence the meeting. Item 1, apologies for absence. I have no apologies for absent. Item 2, exclusions of the public and press. There are no items on the agenda where the public and press are to be excluded. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Item 3, public statements and questions. We have no public questions or statements today. Item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No, I'll move on. Item 5, decision records from the meeting held 17th of July 2024. These have been previously circulated and are for noting only. Agreed? Agreed. Item 6, Youth Justice Plan 24-25. I will invite Councillor Lanny Mayball, Cabinet Member for Early Help, Young People and Children's Social Care, to introduce this item. Laney.
There we go. Thank you, Chair. Today I'm pleased to introduce the Statutory Youth Justice Plan for 24-25. The plan highlights performance by the Youth Justice Service in the past year and some areas of challenge in this regard. The plan is informed throughout, all the way through the plan. You can see the experiences and voices of young people, and these can be seen throughout the plan itself and also in the appendices. The Youth Justice Service continues to work to reduce reoffending with young people, and this has been a historic area of strength. There is a consistent pattern within this cohort of children nearing adulthood with significant and complex needs, which has directly impacted on the Youth Justice Service and their ability to implement its practice model. The live track data indicates that the reoffending rate has already reduced, in part due to this city's commitment to bringing children back to high quality provisions within Doncaster, meaning that the service is able to work directly with those children to effect positive change and reduce reoffending. The custody rate has decreased over the last 18 months, and the service strives to achieve the set target of no more than 2 young people known to the service receiving a custodial sentence. The first-time entrant rate has reduced following a period of turbulence in the previous year linked to COVID delays. This plan also sets out targets for 24-25, which are ambitious. The service aims to ensure that the first-time entrant rate does not exceed the target through the work of EPIC and the service, and towards an aspirational reoffending target of 24%. The custody rate target remains the same as last year, and the service continues to work towards bringing the rate of children who are looked after in the criminal justice system to a level which is comparable to children who are not. This is especially important given that in Doncaster, being cared for or care experienced is a protected characteristic. The plan also highlights some notable achievements, including the continuation of a strong therapeutic offer for children and families, and the implementation of an in-house harmful sexual behaviour pathway following the closure of a long-standing external provider, and then the recruitment of additional careers advisors known as Grow Your Own scheme. The Epic Town Centre Hub continues to support large numbers of young people in the city, and Epic are using virtual reality programmes as an educative tool for young people and the professionals that are working with them. In March this year, the service was subject to an inspection by His Majesty's Inspectorate of Prisons, and the published report highlights the impressive work to meet distant needs of children and recognise that children and families have access to a wide range of services and provision to meet their needs. citing that the service has an exceptional health offer and that practitioners are skilled at recognising and responding to the individual needs of children. It is important to note that inspectors did not find children presenting an imminent risk of harm to others, but they did assess this as an area that needed strengthening to improve overall safety. Therefore, the service has already begun to implement a robust improvement plan based on the recommendations in the report, and this will be overseen by an improvement board of independent members, including our Service Director of Children's Social Care, with the first board meeting taking place on the 10th of September. I therefore ask Cabinet to endorse this plan before it's taken to full council in September for decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions or statements? Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to recognise the good prevention work with young people that are on the cusp of offending through the turnaround delivery process. This has contributed to preventing children going into the criminal justice system. Good community-based delivery, engaging with schools, for example, has contributed to only one young person that has offended from a total of 83 children. This is a good example of good progress. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to make a comment or statement? No? Therefore, I will read out the recommendations. And that is that Cabinet approve the Youth Justice Plan for 24-25 before its submission to full council. Is that moved? Seconded? Therefore, the recommendations are agreed. Thank you. We move on to item 7, Health and Wellbeing Strategy. I will invite Councillor Nigel Ball, Cabinet Member for Public Health, Communities, Leisure and Culture, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, today in parts of Doncaster, people are dying years earlier than they should. The health of many residents is poor when compared to our regional neighbours and indeed the rest of England. Our local health services play a crucial role in improving and protecting the health of Doncaster residents. However, they are only one part of the solution, with many factors outside the scope of services impacting on our health and well-being. The role of Doncaster's Health and Wellbeing Board is to provide leadership to help influence everyone to address the health and wellbeing challenges that Doncaster faces. The board is required to develop and publish a strategy for Doncaster itself. The strategy must be informed by data, insight and voice to understand and identify the priorities where the board can make a difference for better health and wellbeing. Doncaster's previous health and wellbeing strategy was published in 2016, and since then there have been a number of significant events including the floods, COVID-19 pandemic and the cost of living crisis. The Health and Wellbeing Strategy sets out the priorities for improving the health and wellbeing of its local population, and the focus of the board will take when working together to accomplish this. The production of this Health and Wellbeing Strategy has been led by Doncaster's Health and Wellbeing Board in consultation with members of the public and key partners, and this has included a review and synthesis of resident engagement, targeted conversations with residents across the borough, analysis of both new and current data sets including evidence and insight from the Fairness and Wellbeing Commission, sharing and testing on findings and priorities with a variety of stakeholders and partners, again across the borough. The members of the Health and Wellbeing Board have developed 3 priority areas to focus on, which are improve the experience of ageing, close the gap in women's and child's health, create healthy places to live, grow and play. The Health and Wellbeing Board have started to collaboratively develop approaches to the 3 areas of focus. This work is taking place in tandem with Doncaster's Integrated Care Board's priorities to ensure that we maximise our resources and expertise to improve the health and address health inequalities across Doncaster for its residents. Cabinet is today asked to note the approach taken by the strategy and recommend it for approval at full council in September. Thank you, Chair.
Colleagues, any questions or statements, please, in respect of this report? Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add my support to this. I think this different way of working, as described the strategy, with its highly focused areas of interest, such as closing the women's health gap, will help us galvanise moving forward by making sure our attentions and resources and the ways that we work are focused on these areas in particular. I know in particular the life expectancy we have in Doncaster for our residents is particularly lower than the national England average. And when we look at the women's life expectancy, that's one of the worst in England. And so it's brilliant to see that this is given a high priority alongside other things, and that we will be working very focused on that to address these very serious concerns. And it does need that work to galvanise that focus. Thank you.
Colleagues, anyone else that wishes to make a statement in respect of this strategy? Therefore, colleagues, I will read out the recommendations, and that is that Cabinet endorse the health and wellbeing strategy and recommend to full council for approval on 19th of September 2024. Is it moved? Seconded? And therefore the recommendations are agreed. Thank you. We move on to item 8, and that's the future of the former National College for Advanced Transport and Infrastructure building. I will invite Councillor Sue Farmer, Cabinet Member for Equalities, Education and Skills, to introduce this item.
Thank you, Chair. The former National College for High Speed Rail on Carolina Way in Doncaster was originally built to support the development and the delivery of high speed 2 and provide education and training for the rail industry, and was introduced as a flagship policy of the coalition government in 2014. Following a selection process by the then government, Doncaster and Birmingham were chosen as the host locations for the College of High Speed Rail. The council gifted the land, and the building was built and paid for through government grants. The Rail College then opened in 2017 and later evolved into the National College for Advanced Transport and Infrastructure. Ever since it opened, it faced difficulties, primarily through uncertainty, delays and ultimately the cancellation of the majority of the HS2 by the previous government, and eventually it reached a point where it became unviable to continue operations. As a council, we supported the National College for Advanced Transport and Infrastructure where we could, and when the college operators notified us of their intentions to close, as a council we acted swiftly and worked with the government to ensure learners were supported with the Department for Education to enable this important asset to come back into the council's ownership. With an agreed restrictive education covenant protecting its use, ensuring that the majority of the activities taking place in the building needed to be focused on education, skills and training. Despite the challenges faced by the previous entities, council officers have worked with a range of possible partners and stakeholders and have now identified a new occupier. This is compliant with the education covenant, who poses to take full occupancy of the site this autumn. It is important to note that this is subject to a number of final governance and consultations yet to be completed by the operator, but this is not expected to be an issue. This is an exciting proposition for Doncaster and the wider region, which will deliver long-term solution and align with our strategies, strategic ambitions for education and skills, and support our local economy. It is really positive that we now have an identified occupier to lease the building and make use of this amazing asset in our city, which that has stood empty since July last year. I asked the Cabinet to support this exciting new, next phase for the building and endorse the recommendations. Thank you.
Colleagues, any comments or statements? Glyn?
Yes, Chair, thank you. I'm really happy that we are reaching a conclusion with the preferred occupier to bring the former HS2 Encati Rail College back into beneficial and educational and training use for the post-16 training and skills cohort. So basically it can be anybody over 16 who really wishes to enter into that industry, and it will this offering will create a lifelong legacy that will provide significant opportunities for the people and citizens of Doncaster in both the rail and wider associated industries. I welcome this, Chair.
Thank you. I think paragraph 13 actually summarises the whole concept of this building, and I'll read it out because I think it's really important. Doncaster's Education and Skills 2030 strategy commits Team Doncaster to the following key priorities and aims through a talent and innovation ecosystem approach, a new model of post-16 education, an education and skills system that is responsive to the needs of the local and national economy, a coordinated post-16 education office that gives learners the skills they need to prosper, transform Doncaster into a university city that provides advanced learning through centres of excellence, new skills and pathways to fulfilling life and work, establish learning partnerships with local and regional industries that provide quality, sustainable employment and ensures all residents have the opportunity to thrive and access fulfilling careers. And I think that paragraph sums all we want to see coming from this building. So with that, colleagues, with no one else indicating, I'll read out the recommendations. And that is that Cabinet approves the decision to lease the building on Carolina Way in line with the agreed deed of covenant for post-16 education and or training, and delegates the finalisation and authorisation of the lease and completion of the project to the Service Director of Economy and Development or such Service Director who may take responsibility for the management of the Council's commercial property portfolio in the future, and the Director of Children, Young People and Families in consultation with the Mayor. Colleagues, is that moved? Seconded? And therefore the recommendations are agreed. That concludes the items of business on today's agenda. I would like to thank everyone for their attendance and input, and I will now close the meeting. Thank you.